Welcome to Election Watch 2015. I'm your host, Teresa Wippel. In the studio with us today is Shannon Sessions. She is running for Lynnwood City Council Position 7. Shannon, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
We'd like to start by having you talk about yourself and some background on you and why you're running for the City Council.
Sure, absolutely. I've been encouraged to run for the City Council for some time now, and it's really good timing for me. And I just find that the atmosphere there at the city is a place that I want to continue to be. I'm a veteran. I'm a United States Air Force veteran. I served my country there, and I continue serving as volunteering in the community, and then also just in my professional life. For example, I started off, I'm a graduate from the University of Washington with journalism and communications degree, and I covered all of government and public safety in Southwest Snohomish County and North King County as the writer and editor of the Enterprise newspapers for more than 8 years.
I'm sure a lot of people recognize your name.
Yeah, it was a wonderful time. I absolutely loved it and was able to gain a lot of regional contacts that way. And then that's kind of how my foundation goes with knowing how cities work and things they can and can't do and things like that, because I had to cover those issues back then. And then, so I had the opportunity then to work on both sides of the caution tape, because from there, I was recruited with the Lynnwood Police Department as their spokesperson, as their PIO, Public Information Officer, where not only did I speak to the media when anything bad happened in Lynnwood, or good, I spoke with the television, radio, newspaper, online newspapers about what was going on there. And also while I was there doing all the crime prevention programs and helped as their volunteer coordinator for their senior volunteers, the VIPS volunteers. Mm-hmm. From there, just 2 years ago, I transitioned out of the police department, absolutely loved being there, but wanted to expand where I was from my crime prevention specialist background and continue on with my own business, my own small business, and it's called Safety Sessions. Not quite as a tongue twister as Shannon Sessions, but Safety Sessions. And what we do there is corporate crime prevention, personal safety, internet safety for kids, and first aid and CPR certifications. I should also mention that when I was in the Air Force, I was a firefighter in the Air Force. And so my background is, you can tell that my background is very much public safety, and I have a heart for that.
Yeah. And you are also a mom to, we were just talking, 5 kids, including 4 daughters who are not too far apart in age.
Thank you for mentioning that. That's right. I've been married to my husband Keith for more than 22 years, and we have 5 kids. That's right. And 4 of them are female teenagers, and we have our hands full. They're lovely, wonderful, funny girls, but it's never a dull moment.
I'm sure it's not. Well, let's get to the issues. One of the things that I guess this is about fire, so this is a perfect question to start with, given your background. The City of Lynnwood and Snohomish County Fire District 1 have been discussing possibility of some regional fire consolidation, as have other jurisdictions, of course, in the area, and some have already done some of that, as Edmonds and Mount Lake Terrace are already using Fire District, and Briar using Fire District 1 for their fire service. Right. But a bigger, consolidation of several agencies. Lynnwood has their own fire department. What kinds of things do you think that public officials need to look at when they're thinking about maybe doing that kind of an arrangement?
So just to back up a little bit, I was covering those consolidation when they happened, Briar, Mount Lake Terrace, and even before that when Medic 7 changed from Medic 7 and separated. And all the controversies and the complications of it, and the positives and negatives of it. And then later, Edmonds came on. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you all those years, and that's been, 16 or more years ago that this has been going on. And Lynnwood has always been on the periphery of that, having talks, but has never really been on board of doing that before, in the past. Lynnwood is... They are very traditional. Mm-hmm. They want to have their own fire station, and have their own name and recognition of that. They're one of the busiest fire stations in all of the area per capita. Their call load And so they have kind of a unique situation in that where we're located on the 405 and I-5, plus with our retail base. You know, we have about 37,000 population, but it more than doubles during the day and sometimes triples in the holiday seasons. And that's both the service of all of our public safety, police and fire, that are affected by these things. With all that said, we are only now in a position to where the fire department, firefighters, the fire department officials, and city leaders are considering doing something different. This is the first time they're on board. And the reason is because something needs to happen. They have not been fully funded for many years. And that alone is kind of scary, actually, in a way. And so if we can't fully fund them from the general fund because of other things that we'll be talking about that also need funded, what in the world are we going to do? Because in the meantime, they need training. They have to be safe. They have to be able to do their jobs. Plus, we are building 2 new senior facilities. We're talking just about the fire department right now. 2 new senior housing facilities. That is major, more services for the fire department.
And those
emergency
are
medical services.
Multi-story, right?
Multi-story.
So that always puts more demands on fire service.
Very much so. And the general public, I don't know that I think if they think about it, of course, they know that, but they realize that. But who's going to pay for that? If we don't make any changes, our funding's low, our mannings, they're not even fully manned when it comes to their leadership. They've been without a training captain. Something has to happen. Their leadership has been in limbo, and now they have a chief.
Right.
Who is doing a very good job. He's come from a different, broader background, and he has some different ideas. And there will be people on both sides of the coin who's going to say positives and negatives about that, or about it in general. My personal feeling towards it is I'm old-fashioned. I wish we could stay Lynnwood Fire alone, be strong, fully funded, totally serving our city in whole all the time. But I also have a lot of common sense, and I'm a realist as well. And that can't happen. We don't have the money. And for what it's going to take to do that. Okay, so we have to do something. Am I for just rolling over and here, Fire District 1, take our fire station, take control of us, protect our citizens, just do it for us, make it easier for us? No, I'm not for that at all. Am I for looking at other options? Absolutely, we have to. We don't have a choice. We have to look at other options. There are other options, whether it's joining together with Fire District 1, whether it's joining together with all of them to do something even different, which is different than total consolidation. It's called RFA, a Regional Fire Authority. It's a whole separate entity where they would have a taxing authority, they'd have control, Lynnwood would have say on how things are happening, how they're being trained, how we are responding them, and the cost. Here's the other thing, that people on both sides of the coin, they're saying, don't tax on this, keep it low. What are we going to do to make it cost less? None of it's going to cost less. Our fire department is not fully funded.
Right.
So it's going to cost money.
Right.
No matter what we do, it's
Yeah.
going to cost money. And they've been in limbo for so long, and finally they're on board of looking at something else. So you have the firefighters who want a change, finally. And that's been, more than 16 years.
Yeah.
They are on board. And, things have changed.
Yeah.
Back then, 16 years ago, Lynn was fat and happy.
Right.
Now, with the economy different and everything else, everybody has to make changes.
Right.
We don't all love it. But there's all sorts of different organizations to make changes.
Yeah.
Hospitals, insurance companies, you never see them come together, certain parts of them come together. And now they are, because they have to and because it makes sense. So I'm for finding a way to where Lynnwood still has control some control over their fire department and how they respond. I'm biased towards the Lynnwood Fire Department. I'm a major stakeholder in Lynnwood, have been for years. And, I believe that the way that they respond and the way that their tiered response system is the best for the citizens. Can we do it exactly that way if we join together? I don't know.
But you support at least taking a look
But
at
I
it.
support taking a look at it.
Okay.
I need to mention something. My husband's a Lynnwood firefighter.
Oh, okay.
And that, we have looked into that specifically with the city attorneys, human resources and city attorney, to find out what kind of conflict of interest would that be if
Oh, if you were
Shannon was,
elected, yeah.
if I was elected on the
Interesting.
city council.
Yeah.
Of course, we're looking into that. And what we found is I would have to recuse myself from most votes, anything that indirectly or directly would affect my husband.
Right.
So we've already handled that. We already know that's what's happening. And I'm fine with that, whatever's fair. With that said, I have so much more background, even before my husband started working there, regarding the fire department and the history of consolidation efforts and the different types of ways that they can do things. Plus my experience and reputation with working with them directly, and at times as their PIO on big fire incidents, that I work directly with them so much. That's a separate thing too. So my voice still on the council for this issue is still important and needed and would be welcome.
Okay. Wow. Well, you definitely have a lot of background for that. That's for sure. That was a good question to start with.
Thank you.
All right. Well, so another issue that has been talked about a lot is, the road repairs, the delayed funding for a lot of the street repairs, which again is not just a Lynnwood issue. A lot of
Right.
cities are dealing with that. But one of the things that the council recently decided not to do this year, but may revisit later, is the idea of a transportation ballot measure that would have raised sales tax. And I guess the one they were looking at would have also reduced vehicle tab fees. But the point is that trying to find a different way to raise money to pay for street repairs. So the question is that, is there a point later on, if they decide to revisit it, under what circumstance would you support that type of a measure? And do you have other ideas for addressing the street maintenance issues and just the gridlock that happens in the city right now with all the traffic?
Let me first start by saying, I'm not on the council now. I wasn't on the council when they made this vote, so I'm not really in the loop exactly on why they decided against it, why they got to that point. But I do know enough by staying connected with them and finding out the different things that have been happening about to be able to answer this. So it's complicated. I know that. It's complicated. But this is another huge thing that needs funded. So, you can't take all the fire department out of the general fund. You can't take all the roads out of the general fund. We wouldn't have any money. So something needs to happen. And our roads have been having Band-Aids put on them for so long that now they're in such dire straits that they're going to have to take them down below, and I don't know all the technical terms, but it's not like just the top cover anymore.
Yeah.
They have to do some major work that's going to cost a lot of money. How are we going to fund those things? I'm in favor of looking at things that, a multifaceted approach, hopefully. And this is with the disclaimer of, I'm still learning on what you can and can't do when it comes to this with the roads, with the road money, okay? What you can and can't fund with this. With that said, something multifaceted that that is going to possibly have people help pay for who use it, not just putting it on the backs of the Lynnwood residents, okay? So not just, say, for example, taxing a Lynnwood resident to fix the roads. Like we said before, and as we know, we're 37,000 population. The people who mostly use our roads are people who don't live in Lynnwood. And so how's a way to have them help pay for the roads too? So looking into those options, I'm into. Something has to be done, so I'm definitely into, we have to figure out a way to do that. Let me give you an example. My connections with the school district. I've heard more than once that 36th Avenue West, for example, is a road that certain bus drivers cannot take significantly physically disabled students down that road because of their physically disabled, because of the things that are going on in their bodies. They can't take the buses down 36th Avenue West because it's so bumpy, for example.
My goodness.
I mean, that's just, it is what it is, but we need something done, so something has to be done. Maybe another idea, and with the regional relationships that we're building back up, which I'm so proud of with our new mayor, and my connections regionally as well, I think that helps, joining together with other areas around us to figure out ways to pay for roads. They did that down on Olympic View Drive, splitting it with the Edmonds Lynnwood, and thinking of different ways to maybe share costs. Maybe another one is, well, and we did this, actually, they have done this with the Costco, the new Costco across from the mall, adding that new road, having that as part of a regional plan. You have the school district, you have the developer who's developing that area, you have the city, you have federal grant funding, multifaceted people, everybody joining together to fund these roads. So it's going to be a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't know or that it's necessarily the right thing to do to just have one way to do that.
Right,
I think it's going to be so much money, it's going to take a couple ways.
right.
I would be in favor in looking at, possibly looking back at the transportation benefit, the TBD.
Yeah.
To look at that and say, okay, what part is, maybe we do a little less of a sales tax. For example, sales tax, the benefit of a sales tax increase is that it affects everybody.
Right,
That's-
including those who come into
And
Lynnwood to
that's what I
shop,
mean,
right,
including the ones who
yeah,
come in to shop. And so that's a possibility.
Right.
Maybe it's less than that, but like I said, before I get on there, before I understand how all those things work, it's a complicated answer and a complicated question. But that's the way I feel about it.
Okay, good. Another topic that has come up before the council in recent months is, whether marijuana businesses should be allowed in the city limits with the passage of the recent initiative that made that legal. Would you, if this comes up again at some point in the council, in a council meeting, if you're elected, what factors should the city consider in reviewing the current ban and whether it should be lifted?
Having marijuana distribution businesses in the city limits of
Yeah,
Lynnwood.
places where you can, retail marijuana operations. I'm sorry, I didn't actually
That's
include
okay.
that in my first part
That's
of the
okay.
sentence, yeah.
I would, my background's in public safety. That is a really strong background. I feel very strongly about the effects of a lot of things when it comes to drugs, alcohol, abusing drugs, alcohol, or other substance abuse. And not assuming that everybody who goes to these distribution centers are going to abuse those things, but it's not something that I want in the city limits of Lynnwood. Having a retail marijuana distribution center is not something I want in the city limits of Lynnwood.
Okay. All righty. It's been said that Lynnwood is a city that's too reliant on sales tax for its revenues.
Yeah.
Do you agree or disagree with that statement, and would you support diversifying those revenue sources? And if so, which areas should the city be looking at?
I think that they do, or they have in the past anyway, relied too heavily on sales tax, putting all their eggs in one basket. And I think we know that it was true for years and years and years when we were fat and happy. People would tell us, we had some really smart, educated finance directors who warned us years before that, if something just went wrong with the economy, Lynnwood's going to be in big trouble. And that's exactly what happened. And because we rely so heavily on sales tax, we do need to diversify. Again, that's complicated though to know with me not being on the council yet. I'd say it's fair to say that I would need to be in there a little bit to figure out what the other options are at this time. But I have a lot of common sense. I'm not a big spender, not personally, not professionally, not with my business. So I'm very conservative when it comes to spending money. But at the same time, I like to look into it and ask a lot of questions. And so I'm confident that that I would be able to be confident in whatever answer I put when I learn more options.
Okay. The city's ethnic and immigrant populations are continuing to increase. What ways can the city do a better job of reaching out to those populations and getting them more involved in government and in the operations of the city?
I think they've been doing a good job of it, actually. I've been involved in including them in our Citizens Patrol, our Lynnwood Police Citizens Patrol academies that we have, reaching more out to the different diverse communities to invite them as to be more of a fellowship with, for example, our police officers and our fire department, with our Lynnwood University, reaching out to those different groups, and they have been doing that through their diversity commission and other ways. Reaching out to those groups and Edmonds Community College to come and be part of these opportunities the city already offers, which are excellent opportunities to learn more about the city and how government works. Again, Citizens Academy, Lynnwood Police Citizens Academy is about the police department, everything to know about that. But Lynnwood University does a class, for about the whole city. And that also gives people, no matter what background you have, an opportunity to learn more about the city, and also, wants to get you involved, whether it's through volunteering, whether it's for serving on a board or a commission, or running for city council. Those are kind of the basics that you need to know, and they're already reaching out to these folks. I'm really happy with the way that they're doing that. Lynnwood has earned different awards for their inclusion abilities for people with different backgrounds, and our schools, Edmonds School District and Edmonds Community College, have done a wonderful job. I just would like to continue those things. It's important for us to work together, and I'm going to continue doing that.
Well, we've come to the part of the program where you can now speak directly to voters and tell them why they should support you, and so I'm going to give you an opportunity to do that.
All right. Thank you for having me here. I am prepared to serve you as a new Lynnwood City Council member for many of the reasons that I've already mentioned. But I want to add that I have common sense. I'm a hard worker. I'm not intimidated by hard work. And I love this city. I'm a major stakeholder in this community. I live, work, volunteer, and go to church all in the city limits of Lynnwood. All 5 of my kids have gone to Edmonds School District, and we feel very strongly about continuing to make this place a better place to play, work, and live. And on top of that, I find that it is easy to find problems that's going on in the city at the city council level, and to find struggles, but it's not easy to find solutions. And that is the difference between me and my opponent, is that I'm positive. While I'm not expecting to agree with each other all the time, it's important to have open hearts about things, have common sense, and ask questions to come to a mutual agreement so we can move the city on. It's a lot harder to find solutions, and I am here to find solutions and to work with the public on what it is we need to do to make Lynnwood even a better place to live and work.
Very good. Well, Shannon, I wish you the best of luck in your campaign for Council Position 7, and thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.